a lot of guys that are like, maybe they're 205 on stage or 207 on stage, and they want to be 260 on stage. There's only the route there is not straight to 260. The route there is a road to like 310 multiple times and 320 if you can force down enough food to get there. That's just what I'm saying. I just don't believe you get there without doing it for at least, like the first 10 years.
Right.
And how'd you get so big so young? Because I was like 300 pounds when I was like 24 or 25 or something. How'd you get? Well, I was just a machine of consuming food and lifting heavy weights. Like, I did not give a single. Hey, everybody. Welcome to It's Just Bodybuilding. Of course, we're all here. Your host, Big Ron Partlow, Dusty Hanshaw, and the producer, Scott McNally. I was going to swear. I was going to say the effing best producer ever. And then I thought that will upset him so much.
Oh, yeah.
That he has to edit 10 seconds in. He's like,
Yeah.
Okay.
I appreciate it, though. I appreciate the emotion behind it.
My restraint has improved. Remember to like, share, subscribe, comment, and
ring the bell.
IamMutant.com. You guys are killing it by ordering off the Mutant website. I see these emails come through all the time. Your code was used. So nice. I imagine Dusty's code is probably 10 times of what mine is. So he must be minimum.
Well, since mine's the only one that works in North America.
So Dusty's getting renewed. I'm getting dropped. But I do appreciate that you're helping me as I head out the door.
You can stay in the show too.
Yeah,
it's okay.
Yeah,
I need you. I need you in the middle.
Big Ron 20 and Dusty 20 are your codes. I recommend you alternate them.
Like this, like 2 Dusties, 1 Ron.
1 Ron, yeah. 2 Dusties, 1 Ron, yeah.
Wait a minute.
Okay.
Or is it
10 Dusties, 1 Ron?
Is it 2 Rons?
There we go.
To only 1 Dusty. I don't know.
I forgot you had that shirt.
Look at this thing, everybody. Check out my shirt. Look at this shirt. I got Big Ron. Right. Sometimes I train with Ron.
The good old days.
The gym together.
See, I got in pretty good shape once.
Look at this. That's not bad at all, man. That's a great shot.
That's a beauty.
Yeah.
I like to wear it around town because people are like, you got like a freak on your shirt. I'm like, thank you.
Did they think it's you with no beard?
Like, I have had that a couple times actually. Is that you? And I'm like, no, look at my face.
Almost.
I mean, I appreciate that they think that I used to be that good looking. I'm like,
imagine if Ron wore that shirt around. How about that? If Ron wore that shirt every day,
is that what you would look like if you took steroids?
Yeah, similar perversions. Yeah. So that shirt comes from Richard and Lindsay, 2 members of the gym at West Coast Iron. They're fantastic members, and Richard also happens, just funny little coincidence, also happens to be a BMX rider.
Oh,
he's a racer, and his family's into racing. Like his kids race and everything. So when he saw my Flatland videos, he stopped me at the gym and he's like, "Hey, I race BMX," and he rides like, totally different bike, but it's still kind of in the family. So we joke about it.
Yeah.
And he's made a few of these shirts. They're hilarious. And he came to the gym with one of those on one day. And I was just like, oh man, this is crazy. So
he gave me it at the Olympia 2 years ago, and I didn't tell Ron. I just like went in the back and put it on. And then I came out and we took like a picture with a few people, and I was like, this is cool. You're the first person to get a picture with 2 Rons and a Dusty. And he laughed, but it was like a courtesy laugh because he had no idea what I was talking about.
Yeah.
I do a lot of courtesy laughs at the booth.
And then he looked at me and he goes, oh. So yeah, I wore Ron on the shirt for the rest of the day. It was fantastic. I had way more fans once he was with me. So.
Yeah, it was popular. So the funny story behind that photo, because I can't let a story go. I'm sorry, guys. Thankfully. I have to tell the story. So Jason Breeze took that picture.
Okay.
Our good friend Jason Breeze that we all know.
All the time.
Yeah, she shot everybody. He shot everybody from like everybody, and he took that photo. And what happened was we had a photo shoot at Gold's Gym in Edmonton, and it was the day after Nationals in 2012. And I went 6 a.m. Mutant photo shoot, and we went and did the shoot, and it was like shoot went really well. I looked great. I was but I felt like I could have looked better. I felt like I was actually a bit flat.
Hmm.
And it was the morning after the show, but that's because the show went till midnight. Like I literally came off stage at 11:30 the night before, and I barely ate. I had to go to bed, and I didn't really, I didn't do the gallon of water, throw a pizza in, wake up crazy huge. I just I don't know, I ate a little bit of food, went to bed, and I woke up in the morning and I didn't really feel like I'd had any, I felt flatter than on show day, really weirdly. So I was kind of bummed out because I was trying to drink at the photo shoot and it just wasn't hitting.
Yeah.
It wasn't sticking.
He wasn't sticking. I had some donuts and just, nothing really went crazy. So we went and we had a huge meal at Ricky's, which is like Denny's. It's like better than Denny's though, but we went and had a pancake. I had a big waffle with whipped cream on it, and I had eggs and steak, and we just ate. And we're sitting there for like an hour and a half chatting, all the guys from the shoot, and everyone started kind of leaving to go home. And Jason Breeze looked at me and he goes, "We got to go back to the gym, man."
Oh.
And I go, "Really?" And he's like, "You're covered in veins. Like, we have to go take some pictures." So we ran in real quick. We went back to the gym, like 1 PM. He put one light up.
That's
and
awesome.
We just took like 50 pictures in one spot. And I grabbed some dumbbells again and I kind of redid some stuff.
Yeah.
And then he sent me that photo. And I was like, oh my God, it's like one of the best pictures I've ever seen of myself. So yeah, Jason Breeze. There
That's
you go.
So cool.
That whole life of bodybuilding for one picture I like.
Right?
That's pretty much how it works. Everyone's got theirs. You got your like 5 photos that you're like, all right. So there were 5 moments in my entire career of 15 plus years that I thought I looked okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then now I hate my triceps. Yeah. Back to self-loathing. Yeah. It never goes away. Okay. What are we talking about today, guys?
We all did a bunch of questions. We kind of did our own question boxes. I tried it in the post today and it worked phenomenally. I wasn't sure. I was like, I don't know how this is gonna fly.
Instagram post, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's the only place where old people go.
Old
people.
We
were there.
So wait, Facebook used to be only for old people. Now
ancient.
I'm just making
ancient.
Okay.
Old people's parents.
This is
Okay.
old.
And Instagram is now just old people.
Old
okay.
people.
I'm just trying to keep up here. Okay.
Yeah, it's tough at our age. But so anyway, Ron, you had a great one about bodybuilding around the world. So
yeah, I had a good question on my question box. I had a good one. It was is the bodybuilding philosophy different around the world? Like, is the training style, that sort of thing? Like, how does bodybuilding vary from country to country? And, what do you notice? And I thought that was a cool topic because I think that's always kind of been a thing that we've talked about in bodybuilding,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I remember back in the day hearing that the California bodybuilders train twice a day, remember? And like Arnold's day.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then the European guys did this, or, they did Serge Nubret was in France doing like 30 sets of chest with, light weights, but doing all sets of 20 and stuff like that. And I remember hearing there was all these little pockets of people, even back in the day, that trained a certain way. And then, fast forward to Dorian, and now when I go to England, I feel like there's an extra dense culture of the heavy duty style of training.
Oh yeah.
He really his legacy is just woven into the culture of bodybuilding there more so than anywhere else.
Right.
And so, what do you guys think? There's also the legends of Kuwait, like what's going on in Kuwait?
Yeah.
The oxygen gym, lore, so I don't know. What other examples can you think of?
Well, so here's what I think too, to break it down even further, and why I think it's this way is in the States, I think there's different training in different states. And I think the reason that takes place is because of who's around.
Yeah.
If you train, like for example, where I do now, South Carolina, a little, big box gym, you would be blown away if someone dropped you into Metroflex for a day.
Oh, for sure.
So, when the likes of Branch and Ronnie and Johnny have built a gym, and then you go in there at 17 years old, well, what are you going to train like, or at least try to emulate? It's going to be them. So I find that that's kind of what starts to take place as well. You go into these places. I know, Ron, you and I have both been to some of these hardcore gyms in New York, and you walk in there and everyone trains like an animal. Like, and you're talking about guys in like jeans and t-shirts, and then you look over and he's repping 405 on an incline. You're like, what is happening in this place? You know,
so crazy stuff.
But you know, then you come somewhere like I said here, and we have a lot of pros here. Actually, believe it or not, I mean, there's probably 6 or 7 that train at my gym, and good, you know, good pros. I mean, Jeremy Potvin trains here. He's been top 5 at the Olympia before, and it's like, but that being said, intense training does not exist. Like I put up a post about it today because I see people who I speak to and they're talking about wanting to turn pro and this and that. And I watch them train. I'm like, oh, you don't want to turn pro.
I just reposted it. I said,
did you really?
read, must read.
Yeah. So those, you know, those are things I see, but I will say to piggyback on Ron, when I went to the UK for the first time, and I mean, coincidentally, I was training in Dorian's gym, but I was like, there's more of us. Because everyone in the place, I mean, like guys that just go there every day, they weren't there for the show. They trained there. It was awesome. And then I did a couple guest appearances at shows in the UK.
Yeah.
Everyone. I mean, this sounds blatant, like a blanket statement, but they get sliced. Yeah, I mean, the top 5 very at any level is disgusting there. Like here, you've got a few people in the States, you know, for the most part, unless it's a huge show. Like there's a couple that come in shape over there.
Yeah.
If you're not inside out, do not go on stage. You'll be embarrassed.
Yeah. There's some screws loose in the UK in a good way. I
love them.
You know
Those
what I mean?
Are my people.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. I feel like Jordan Peters has really influenced that further.
Oh yeah.
You know,
it's that second that, you know, there was like Dorian and then that like, that next wave came through of guys like, you know, I mean, Luke and James were peak 2 of the mountain, right? Luke and James training. Remember when they were training together? It was like, oh, this is like round 2 of UK in your face,
right?
You know, and so yeah, it's I always loved it. I've always said repeatedly that I love UK bodybuilding and I feel at home there, and everyone's just so cool to me there, like just so awesome at the gyms. You know what I mean? So. Yeah.
So when I went out there to the Fit Expo, it was, I guess, two years ago now in Liverpool. You could see, so you see it here too, but there was a much higher density of people that were wearing t-shirts that were like 3.5 sizes too big.
Oh yeah.
You know, and when you see those guys, you know, you don't even have to ask, you know what I mean? You know what their mindset is.
I call it the progressive overload uniform. and there's a few different uniforms. It's kind of like all uniforms, like they don't all look the same, you know, like, but there's a uniform.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
And so there's a few different types. Like you might be sweats tucked into your socks with a lumberjack shirt on. right. Or you might be the Trained by JP sweats.
Yeah,
with like a 4X t-shirt hanging down your knees.
Yeah, literally to your knees.
Same, not the same company, but the same uniform.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
right.
Yeah. Both are allowed at that job site.
Both are allowed at that job. That's exactly what I was trying to say, Dusty. There's a couple different acceptable ways, you know? And I always think like, oh, awesome. That guy's probably doing a rest pause set.
Right.
Yeah. You know he is. Yeah.
You immediately know he knows exactly what he did last time he did this.
Yeah. He's got a logbook somewhere. You're like, where's it? You're looking around for it.
And they're not doing this because they want to. Let me put it this way: they're not doing it for the superficial reasons. A lot of times, they're doing it because they have something wrong in their head and they're trying to fix it. They're trying to fix it with really heavy weight, and they know it's not going to work, but they know they're going to get really big in the process.
I could just put enormous pressure on this problem.
Yes.
I was going to say, I don't think anyone's trying to fix it, Scott.
Yeah.
We're just trying to find a way to utilize it.
Yes. Yeah. Harness the darkness.
Harness the darkness. You know what I like to see? It makes me think like, it's like a real like deep bodybuilder. Like this is coming from inside. And when you see a guy who's big, he's got like some real street cred in his physique, you know, like maybe he's 250, looks thick, looks like he's big. He's put some real time in. Okay. Big, thick guy. You know, you could tell he's squatting heavy. You're like, that guy's moving weight, and you see his forearms and they're not shaved. I'm like, oh, that guy's so busy eating that he doesn't have time to shave his forearms. He's bulking hard. He's eating. He's so sore after leg day. He's like, I can't be bothered to shave my forearms. Makes me feel like that's a guy to watch. He's going to be like he's going to show up at the next show and destroy everybody. Yeah. That's what I like to think, Yeah.
I like the math, the equation there. But yeah, no, I think it's great to see. And you can really see it start to build in certain areas though, because going back, every time I go back to West Coast Iron, it's different now. Like because what I enjoy about that portion, I'm not talking about just bodybuilding anymore, is it's seeping into your like weekend warriors. Like when you go to West Coast and you watch somebody who's, I mean, I'm not saying they're not in great shape, but they don't compete. But you watch them train and you can see they've picked up on the energy and how to train. And you can also see there, because it's a lot of the same people coming every day, like people helping each other out. Yeah. You see that there's an education taking place in how to train, not just sets and reps and form, but intensity and that kind of stuff. And it's cool to see, because you really see in the right environment how it does. It bleeds into everything. And it's wild to watch, because we're talking their average member. Like, I mean, I'd say like somebody like my mother, if she was going to the gym there, what would happen to her training in a year of being there would be absurd, because it's a positive energy though, because they see these, I mean, they got some freaks to train that gym, men, women, and it's wild to see, because you can tell it's all there. If there was negative energy, I assume Ron would boot them, because I've never seen it. So it's pretty cool to see there.
We've had to.
I've seen it grow too, Dusty. Because the first time I went out to West Coast Iron was, I think, July of 2019, and came out, and Braden was a lot smaller back then. You were training with Braden still. We got a shoulder workout in. And
it was probably like 230, not 270.
Yeah, very, very different physique back then.
Still ugly.
The gym, that hasn't changed. That hasn't changed. But the gym had a good energy. But then coming back with you guys last year, I could see it. Not only was there like more equipment, did you guys knock walls out, move things around, get more stuff, but you could see the energy had changed, and there were just a lot more people that were all like-minded. Like, you could see it had just developed a lot more since. I wasn't quite expecting that. Like, I was like, I've been here before, I know what it's like. But you could see the dynamic had evolved. I mean, if you look back, you can probably, it has, but to have that, it's kind of like when you haven't seen somebody in a while, 6 months later, you're like, oh, wow, you gained 10 pounds. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, man, I really appreciate that, guys. It's funny. The other day I was actually lubing up some rails.
Wait, what?
So I was lubing things up.
Careful.
Yeah. I was doing some gym maintenance. I was just in there, putzing around on equipment. Maintenance. And I was just kind of watching this one kid do pull downs on one of the high rows, on the Panada high row. Yeah. And I mean, he didn't look like he was like big or anything. He's like 175 pound guy, just in there training. And I was like, oh, he's like totally like driving his elbow down, perfect body position. Right. Like, he even had his thumb on the outside of the handle, which I know like a few guys have said, like really emphasize, like don't let your hand wander. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. He just had everything lined up, the way he was sitting, and he was going to like perfect mechanical failure. And then he kind of cheated out a couple of reps, and then he held a long stretch and just sat there in a stretch, and then he let it go. And I was like, oh, that just random kid that looks like just a normal gym class, like just out of high school type of kid, just did like a perfect set to mechanical failure with like all the tips that you'd get watching, Joe Bennett's Instagram or JP train. Right. And I just thought, man, that's awesome. Like, people are just like, this next generation, if they just apply themselves, it goes back to how all the tools that we need to be anything are right here. Yeah. And like, if you just utilize it in any way, just think of the gains we would have had if we would have been doing like all the right stuff the whole time.
Yeah. Yeah. But then again, though, like the guys from the 70s could have said that about the guys
yeah,
from the 90s, right?
But it's always, it just makes you, I guess we'll see that, maybe we'll get maybe we'll, I don't know how much bigger physiques can get than like Ramy, right? Like how big can we actually get?
Yeah.
But what I think we will see is a wave of younger guys getting humongous because they're starting earlier, just how everything works with numbers and how long you do it. You know what I mean? Like, the Nick Walker phenomenon where how old was he when he won his pro card? Like 23?
Yeah.
Was he?
Young. I don't know how old.
Yeah. So like that Nick Walker thing, I think that's actually going to get more common.
Right.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Just because of numbers and kids doing everything right from the very start. Like if you start at 14 and you do every single workout perfectly, imagine, 24, how big are you, right? So I'm just thinking it's exciting,
Absolutely. It's funny, and now that we've completely derailed our topic anyways, I'm going to go with this.
Yeah.
So I'm at the gym this morning, and the other day I put up a joking, not joking thing with Mutant about people throwing gum in the urinals.
I saw that.
I saw that.
It's like Dusty's in the bathroom and there's urinal. What am I watching right now?
Videoing in the bathroom.
Yeah.
I'm gonna end up on what's his head's post soon. But anyways, the thing that bothered me in response to it was every answer was these young kids have no respect. I'm like, how do you know who does this? And it's like, and a few people like, oh, these broccoli haired kids and all this stuff. And I thought the funniest part was, as we're doing these things with Mutant, you try to you're having fun, but you don't want to consistently sound like a negative asshole. Like everything I ever do is bad.
Right.
But it kind of made me think in reverse. I'm like, what I think is sad about our generation of people is everything has become negative. Because when I'm in the gym now, the one thing I see with these terrible broccoli head kids is they're all in their training, having fun, pushing each other. If you go to their Instagram posts, because I follow a bunch of them, they support each other and push each other on. And today I walk in the locker room and it was like a moment fall back to my past. There's 4 kids in there and they're talking about their workout and they're having Rice Krispie treats to get their pump. I was like, this is
my
awesome. And I'm like, it baffles me that our generation decides to only look at the things that bother us about them. And I'm like,
it's a good point.
As someone who has a 15-year-old kid that's in the gym all the time, I'm like, I'm sorry. I'm aware that she's there for 2.5 hours and needs to be there for 40 minutes.
Yeah.
But I'd like her to be there.
Where else you want her to be?
Instead of somewhere else.
Right.
Ain't hurting anything. You know what I mean? And it's not bad. It's great to me that at 15 years old with a little bit of muscle mass, when she's done training, she wants to go look at her pumps and take pictures. I'm like, that means you were good. Because when I was 15, all I thought about was how bad I sucked and to stay covered up until I had some muscle mass. I have no pictures from my first 4 shows because I said to myself, I don't want pictures until I'm good. What I would do to go back and have my first 6 months of training like she has, year and a half, and the changes are wild, and I have proof because she does all this stuff. So I don't know, just something to think about when everyone wants to hammer on these kids. I'm like, plus as someone who plans on owning a gym, I'm like, I want them all. I want the memberships.
Sure.
Yeah. No, man, I agree with you. I try to think of all the positives that come out of every next round. We might see some amazing stuff out of this next round. Time is the ultimate factor.
Hey, Scott, I just sent you on a text.
Yeah.
A guy actually sent me a question into my DMs. And I thought it was cool because he sent me some pictures. I was like, well, screw it. Let's do it live. I didn't even read it.
Oh, thanks for reminding me. I've got a Patreon Physique Critique too. So I'll pull that up later.
You're doing that now as well.
You want to do put the pictures up first? Or what are we doing here, Dusty?
Throw the question first, and then let's toss up the pictures. And
what does he say here? Question for
I got the same one.
Okay,
all right, perfect.
Awesome.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Which path should my first real push using compounds? Keep it tight or go full big Ron mode? For reference, been bodybuilding on TRT for a year. finished a hard cut. Hold on, we're trying to not put up doses on the screen lately. That's been it's been a helpful thing. But he says finished a hard cut and now on 2 weeks of a push. He says he upped the test from 250 to 500. Started 75 NPP now. Now it's at 150. Got down to 230. Was 240 for check-ins yesterday. Had 2 big cheats and woke up at 248. This is normally my weight was, this is normal for my weight. Body weight was pretty watery. I'll tighten up again. So what is he asking here, Dusty?
He wants to know how to, it seems like he wants to know what to do as far as growing. He said, keep it tight or go full big Ron mode. Throw his pictures up.
Look at that.
He's obviously made awesome change. And, I thought it was important to throw this up because I feel like this is the one area, in my opinion, that things have gotten lost is you're not going to put on maximum amount of tissue on the lowest possible doses without eating more food than is necessary.
Yeah.
There has to be an excess, and I think, and that's a question that Dante put up as well that we'll answer in a little bit, but it's like, so to me, the answer is simple. Don't get, I get nervous when they say like full big Ron mode. Like you get really big, but I think they're confused on like how like fat and big are not the same thing. So it doesn't
water
mean,
too. I didn't mind holding water.
It doesn't mean though that you're like, for example, if you're eating a proper planned diet and you're at an excess of calories, you now have to be even more aware of extra food you have. Your flat line is above maintenance by quite a bit. So when you start towing in the 2, 3, 5, 9 cheat meals a week, you get fat.
Yeah.
And that's not necessary. But I do think that the putting on a big baggy t-shirt and disappearing for a year is a great idea.
Yeah. People, I try to illustrate sometimes the water thing. Like everyone now is really like, they don't want to hold water. They're always like, I don't want to hold water. I don't want to hold water. But, and I'm not saying that we were right, but we just didn't worry about that at all. Like, obviously if I'm comfortable or if it was like some, you do something about it. You don't want to hold a bunch of unnecessary water, but we didn't worry about having fluid on our body. Like, so I remember one year, the year I worked with Chad Nichols, I was 330 and 10 days later, started the diet. 10 days later, I was 308.
Okay. Yeah.
So I lost 22 pounds in the first 10 days on the diet. And that was just water. Like my belt came in an inch, my ankles got tighter, my legs hardened up, my waist came down. And I was like, oh, I'm not like full of food anymore. And I was just like, bloated and watery. And my face even like came down. Like I remember at the time, everyone was like, oh yeah, you're like getting leaner already. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But obviously that's not body fat. It's only been 10 days. It's just fluid running off from being so full of carbs and just eating and eating. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So, if you start your diet and 10 days later, you're down 2 pounds, I don't think you had a lot of water on you.
Right.
So, yeah.
Well, I think what throws it off a little bit too is who we follow. Okay. Because Nick Walker, got to be, if not the most popular bodybuilder on the planet right now. Nick is not trying to put on massive amounts of size. So when you see him cross-threaded and serratus and all this stuff year round, it's like, that's how you do that. No, first off, Nick Walker is Nick Walker. His genetics are his genetics. And he works harder than anyone I know. So when you factor in all of those things, plus he's already there, he needs to do that. The hand he's been dealt, he needs to make sure he's keeping the waist tight and doing all these things. So part of their plan is to stay tighter. But for you, when you're trying to put on mass, that is not the time to play the Nick Walker game. You need to get big.
Yeah.
And I will say this,
bigger.
I would rather err on the being too fat than too lean if you're trying to put on size.
Yeah. I don't want to sound like, I do not think I was a great bodybuilder. I was too tall. My arms are too long. There was lots wrong with me, but I was 265 on stage with striated glutes. and I was 330 off season at one point, 320 many times, like routinely 320 off season.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of guys that are like, maybe they're 205 on stage or 207 on stage, and they want to be 260 on stage. There's only, the route there is not straight to 260. The route there is a road to like 310 multiple times and 320 if you can force down enough food to get there. That's just what I'm saying. I just don't believe you get there without doing it for at least, like the first 10 years.
Right.
And how'd you get so big so young? Because I was like 300 pounds when I was like 24 or 25 or something. How'd you get? Well, I was just a machine of consuming food and lifting heavy weights. Like I did not give a single shit about how I looked. Like I wasn't like trying to show off my legs at the beach, and I wasn't at the club with no shirt on. Well, there's a couple times, but
I seen the pictures.
Yeah, like I didn't care about anything. Hey Ron, no. Hey Ron, do you want to? No. Hey Ron, I'm eating. Leave me alone.
Yep.
Like just a machine. And hey, that's how I got real heavy young. But that's just what I think. And that's why I think that, because I did it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I agree 100. So I think that's the advice I would give is chase that down. And the only caveat to that is I had a couple points in my career where I got too heavy, and I knew because the low back pumps were affecting my training. And that was because I did what I had mentioned earlier, which was the garbage food got a little too high. And as soon as I cleaned that out and was following correctly on an excessive amount of calories of better food, that 10 pounds of junk water fell out. And I'm talking about the 10 that takes you from 20 pounds of water to 30 that wasn't necessary. And all of a sudden that training hindrance was gone. So that was the only thing I would gauge everything on was, am I heavy? Yes. But is my low back bother me? No. Okay, we're fine. Okay. Because once something negatively affected my training, it was a problem.
I'm glad you kind of explained that though, because if you're just to say like, oh, if I got too heavy, I get lower back pumps. Because I do feel like there's an element of people that can kind of say, because listen, like outside of that doesn't mean that you were like feeling good and 100% comfortable 10 pounds less, right? Like,
oh no, it was just that the pumps were ruining my workouts. Like because it wouldn't let go. Yeah. So the workout would either literally pause for 20 minutes or it would end. Yeah. So it's like that did not work. Now I always had low back pump because you're heavy, but I'm talking about like debilitating where it's like if you put the bar on the ground and it was 135, I couldn't pick it up.
Thank you.
I couldn't,
because I do feel like there's kind of an excuse built in there. Like, I want to get, you know what I mean? Don't want to get too heavy. I'll get low back pumps.
Or you get one of those crazy lower back pumps where you're like, okay, well, maybe I can leg press. And then you're like, I can't leg press. Like it's too tight.
Can't do that.
Like, I feel like I'm going to hurt myself. Like your body's not going to move that way. It's just so brutal. Yeah.
I've had back pumps that were bad enough that when I did leave the gym because the workout needed to end, I sat in my truck and got back out and stood up and waited because I couldn't even sit in my car to drive home seated. It felt like it was an extreme stretch on my low back. To sit in my truck.
Yeah. I had a moment the other day. I was training delts, and I trained delts with a client of mine. And the gym was pretty busy, and we got like the good side lateral machine to start. And I just felt like doing a bunch of drop sets and stuff on this side lateral machine. Okay. So we're going crazy. We did like all sets of 20 all the way up to, and then we started hitting failure and, forcing reps and going crazy on this side lateral. And I was just getting this sick pump, and I'd sort of put some extra effort in that day. I felt like I didn't eat enough. So I plowed some food and I drank a ton of fluid with some salt and aminos in it. And I remember feeling like I'm super hydrated. And I got this shoulder pump that was reminiscent, not quite as good, but reminiscent of the Anadrol days. Oh, and I had to put my arms up on a machine between a couple of sets because I just standing there and it was
move.
And it was funny because as we started, the pumps started hitting me really quick, and I actually mentioned that. I go, I used to get these Anadrol pumps where I had to put my arms up, and then like a bunch of sets later, I had to put my arms up on some machines, and I was like, oh wow, this is awesome. This is like the good old days, you know.
I'm terribly uncomfortable. This is awesome.
Yeah, I was like, wow, you know, yeah. It was just it made me just realize like, oh, those superhuman pumps, those just crazy, you know. I miss those days.
That's good. All right. I know, Dusty, you got a bunch of questions, including some from Dante. I want to hear some of those. Let me throw this up real quick. This is from Dylan. He's got another Physique Critique here. He says he's seen us do Physique Critiques in the past, and he actually joined Patreon specifically because I was like, yeah, we'll try to get it on. You know, we haven't done them a lot. We've done for some of the Patreon guys. He's like, oh, listen, man, I'll sign up. So thank you very much. I appreciate you signing up, and everybody else who's over at Patreon. So here's his deal. He's 22 years old. He says he's been natural bodybuilding now for 4 years, 5'10", 225. He says, I'm going to start my first prep in 3 weeks. He's going to be coached by Justin Harris. He says, training bodybuilding has consumed my life entirely, and he'll be graduating with a bachelor's in exercise science in May. Good for him. He says, then applying to graduate school for physical therapy. In the meantime, I'm going to see how good I can be at competing and see how far I can take the hobby I love. I appreciate any criticisms, advice, tips, and so on. So my first tip for you is to, before you send any pictures to your coach, you got to figure out how to send pictures. We got to critique your picture taking technique, because I'm going to put this up and I am seriously going to critique your pictures. Now, if you look at that image, you look at how much of the screen you're filling. Yes. I want you to completely fill that screen. I have to zoom way in. Now, if I were to say like, hey, I want to see, you know, what is your skin looking like laying over that rib cage? Are you getting leaner, or are you staying the same? You holding water? I can't hardly see that. And then when I blow it up, it's just going to be blurry, super blurry. So you're going to have to get better at your skills there. So I'm going to give him that. But now that I've given him that, let me throw a couple pictures up, and you guys can tell us what you think here. Here's a front double. Here's a rear double. Also, I saw one of his videos on Instagram, and I told him, just based off of like this posing, I'll be completely honest, looks way better than the video I saw. He's caught the spots perfectly, but actually, I mean, it could use improvement, but just even getting into the shots, I could see he was really struggling, which he's new to posing. So, you know, I don't fault him there, but definitely get on that. Right. That would be one thought.
Okay. Well, I mean, he's got muscle on him and he's growing everywhere. It looks like he's training everything. Yeah. He's even got, it looks like his calves are growing, you know, looks like he's got some quads. Yeah. He's got some quads coming. Yeah. I see him right away. I'm like, it looks like he's got calves even in the bad lighting, you know.
That's why I stopped talking. I'm like, I'm not helping this.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you need help for? You can just wear shorts and everyone thinks you're in shape.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, he's you know, his back's got muscle. Looks like he's training hard. I don't know his weight or anything. Like, how big is he?
225 at 5'11" in natural.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, it's all coming, man. I mean, the fact that he's natty too, that's awesome. You know, I mean, he could just keep piling muscle on, you know, really get his lat. I mean, obviously his posing needs some work, so his lats might pop out a lot more with a few tweaks, but you know, I'm not going to start bossing him around. I haven't seen him train. It looks like he's, you know, on the right track.
Yeah. I would say the biggest thing when you're in this phase is more of the same. I'm stoked of who he hired as a coach, because Justin's awesome, and he will make sure that the training is the level of intensity that it needs to be to fully maximize. And then the only thing I wanted to add to what Scott said was buy a ring light. $20 to $40.
Yeah.
Straight overhead lighting is the reason that you have spots of your body that look really good and spots of your body I can't see at all. Because you're shadowing yourself out there. So get a ring light that you can put in front of you and light everything up so you can better see. At this point, I'm sure Justin hasn't complained, because based on where you are and what you need to do, he's not that concerned with it. Yeah. But you do want to get in the habit of having good pictures always, so he can see the changes. Because, like we've talked about on the show before, there's nothing worse than bumping into a client and finding out they're either much leaner than you thought or much fatter than you thought. And you're like, oh, this changes everything we've been doing. And even leaner can be a bad thing, because I'm like, oh, I've been holding you way tighter than I needed to, because you're so, like, some of my clients are really pasty and then they're in really bright rooms. I can't even see how conditioned they are. Then you bump into them, you're like, oh, yeah, we're like 9% body fat and dead nuts off season. We do not need to do that.
right.
So, but no, other than that, I think the big thing is just more of the same, man. Just because there's nothing missing on your physique. I didn't look and go, oh, you have no triceps.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. And just, I mean, obviously Justin's going to help him a lot. So there won't be any shortage of food or heavy weights, you know?
Oh, he might not even, wait a second. He might be self-coached. He says using Justin Harris's online. He says, and I'm going to start my first prep in 3 weeks, self-coached using Justin Harris's online. And he's 22 years old. Like, to have that level of development at 22, natural, training for 4 years, you know?
I know. I mean, we could get specific and start telling them like, oh, this body part needs to come up a bit, but I mean, like everything's got to come up because he's in his early 22 years.
Exactly.
Yeah. Boom. People like the physique assessments, don't they?
Yeah, they do. They do.
Yeah. Sometimes just being told, don't, it's half my job. Don't change anything. No changes.
Yeah, it really is sometimes.
Do you ever do that? I feel guilty sometimes when things are going really well. I had a new client about 2 months ago, and I usually tell people up front, like, hey, in the beginning, I'm kind of doing an educated guess. And then,
of course,
as we see what happens, I'm going to change things. So this guy's like 8 weeks in, I've changed nothing. And he just keeps getting better. And I'm like, okay, I'm not lazy. And I'm also not this good at this. We just got really lucky. And like,
right.
I had to point it out though. I'm like, I know it seems like every update, I'm like, good job. Send more pictures in a week. And don't forget you owe money in 2 weeks. But it's when it's working that well, it's funny. And I know Ron, it was the same with Nikki. Like he sent her plan and she ran that diet for like 4 months.
Yeah.
Because it was working. But it is funny because you do have those moments where you're like, if it's someone newer, you're like, I promise I'm not stealing from you, but so I'll just like send side-by-side pictures.
Yeah,
this is why we're not changing things.
I've done that.
You are looking awesome.
Yeah. I'll remind him. I'm like, you were 250 6 weeks ago, and now you're 230, and like, look at your legs. Like,
or there's times where it's like you were 250 and you're still 250, but look at these pictures. You know what I mean?
Well, that's like what Nikki right now is. She's not really like, she hasn't dropped a lot of weight the last 2 weeks, but her legs have really started coming in, like the calves this week. Hey,
nice.
Like when she walks around it. Yeah, when she walks around, they must be popping off. Yeah.
I flip her off on the regular. Like, what? You need those
monster calves.
So here, I got a good question from Dante that I thought we should get into. Drugs or no drugs, have you ever seen a bodybuilder who stayed under 10% body fat, who was able to go from 150 pounds to 250 pounds lean, again, staying under 10% body fat on that journey? Or have you ever met a bodybuilder who did not have to go outside of the box a little bit with eating to gain 100 pounds of muscle mass?
It's kind of what we were talking about a little bit ago, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that ties in really well with what we just talked about. And I actually want to take this a little bit further, how he put that. Have you ever met like, what was it, a good bodybuilder or just a bodybuilder who
put on 100 pounds?
Yeah. And so have you ever met anyone who put on 100 pounds without going outside the box a little bit with eating? The answer is absolutely not. Like every single one of them, every single one of us who did some crazy stuff and consumed some ridiculous stuff that most people like. You ate that? I'm like, I eat that all the time. Right.
Yeah.
And it also goes every other way though. Like, all these things that we hear people do, like, when people are dieting, they, put their calories at this much % under their BMR and they'll get lean. But it's like, and then there's that outside the box stuff that you got to do, like those no carb days. And like, I'm just going to go to the gym and do 2 hours on the treadmill right now because like something's got to happen. Like there's always a little bit, it's not advised. It's not something you want to have to do, but there's always those little moments when you got to go outside the box a little bit. You feel like you have to go outside the box a little bit. Yeah. So yeah, the formula stuff bothers me, right?
Well, I think that's the big thing is where things get missed in bodybuilding, in my opinion, is we do just start going through a emotion, a process. It's the same thing in the gym. Like when you first get started, like you said just a minute ago, Ron, you need more of everything. And and it is correct. But there comes a point in your career where you're like, has no one told you you have no glutes? And you should alter your training to fix that. You know what I mean? Like there are things that you need to be watching for. And again, that's when it's like, okay, outside the box, Dante and I were trying to figure out how can we get my legs to grow the way my back was and things like that. And making shit up. Try this.
Yeah.
I had a bad dream last night. There was a shark and there was Wheaties and there were Rice Krispie treats and you were doing all those things while training legs. I was like, okay, I'll go buy a shark. What? Right. But the point was, it was just
laser beams.
Try this. And eventually you found something, and I think that is what kind of gets missed because we do have a habit of just eventually going through the motions, and you're like, okay, at some point you have to, it's like I found for me, okay, my body's growing out of control, but my arms aren't going as quickly. They're gonna need their own day. Where I was doing the typical push-pull legs. I've seen guys have plenty of arm development. It wasn't me. So we had to give them their own day, and we left them on the push and pull as well. And next thing you know, they got okay. They were never a strength across the board. Always triceps were good, but it was just, okay, your arms overall are not matching up to everything else. What do we do? So, and that goes with food as well. But I like what he's pushing because the process is this, which is if you eliminate, and he didn't mention this one, but he did another one, but if you eliminate the ability to take asinine doses of drugs, you will find that you have to go deeper into your training, your diet, your rest, your over-the-counter supplements to make that muscle grow. And that's where most people are missing right now.
I think that was what forced us to do all the crazy stuff that we talk about that we did. Was drugs were expensive.
Yes.
And like, I remember I remember back when everything used to be, European amps, and it cost what it cost. And like to take, 150 milligrams of Deca a week was like $100. So you're a young bodybuilder working at the bar, and you got to spend $100 a week for your Deca. It's like, oh man, like, those 3 amps for $35 an amp, like it's crazy. Like, and we're paying $25 for a Sustanon and stuff like that. And, that's imagine inflation. That's like $50 an amp now. Right. So, drugs are expensive. So we were on, that's why we were on, 400 test, 100 Deca, and if you want to get to 300 pounds on that, you got to eat a lot. Like,
yeah. Well, I think there was no, and I was very fortunate because I did hire Dante young in the game, and I literally just, everything he said was gospel to me. I didn't look beyond it. So it was like, if this isn't enough drugs, then you aren't a bodybuilder. That was basically how he would present it to me. Like, you can bodybuild without sacrificing your health. So if you can't do this with this parameter of supplementation, then quit. Because there's plenty of other things that you can go nuts on with food and training and recovery and sleep and a lot of things that I had to my advantage. And that option was not there. And I think on the flip, not to be Mr. like, oh, we don't ever take anything. If you took that attitude at a young age and said, okay, I'm going to do stuff because I'm going to, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but I'm going to take low dose. I'm going to max at 300 milligrams a test. That'll be the only thing I take. And you find a way to make yourself grow for years on that being your max dose, I promise when you add in more gear, because you've laid the foundation correctly with all those other things, your end result, your final end result will be bigger than it would have been. Because, and I've said this a million times, stealing from Dante, drugs hide mistakes. If you're not eating enough, but you're on 2 grams a test, you're kind of growing anyways. and then you come off, and then you lose size, and that's a back and forth. But if you are eating flawlessly on 300 milligrams and you're growing, when you go to 500, it's going to feel like, holy, this is insane. And I'm going to continue to do all those other things. You know, that's where I found back in the day, because we did used to go completely off. You got even more obsessive about your eating, your sleeping, because you're like, okay, I can't lose the gains. Because like you said, Ron, I just invested $700, which when I was poor was a ton, into this muscle mass. I cannot lose an ounce of it.
Yeah.
You know, so then it was like every detail had to be flawless, because you were afraid to lose what you just built. You know,
I actually just remembered something. Like, wow. I just had a flashback. It must be, you know, maybe that one time I did acid sort of trapped this memory off in the little closet. But I just remembered that I had a little phase where I was getting a large chocolate shake from McDonald's after every workout.
It's the way to do it.
Wow.
I'd
get in my truck, crank the AC/DC post-workout, drive through the drive-through, get a large chocolate shake. I wasn't even drinking protein. I was just drinking a large chocolate shake. Cruise home, and then eat my meal. Cook a steak on the barbecue, you know, big potato, have a big meal. And I'd be like, steak and potato. It's a bodybuilder meal.
I like
but
that.
the large shake from McDonald's, that was just post-workout.
Yeah.
That's to replenish my glycogen. That's how we did it. Take like 10 IUs of Humalog, sit on turn a movie on. Yep. Oh man.
Speaking my language. I remember
the late 90s were a hell of a time.
Yeah.
You know?
The late 90s were a hell of a drug.
Hell of a time.
It was a time.
You know?
Yeah.
Waiting for Rage Against the Machine to go on tour again, you know? Just loving life. Oh, Limp Bizkit video. New Limp Bizkit. Oh, here we go. Yeah, good times. Okay. What's next?
Well, while you look over there, Dusty, I had a bunch from Instagram, from Patreon and from YouTube. So let me see if I can find one to throw up here. What about pre-exhaustion? Josh Weaver had asked us. He said, what are you guys' thoughts of a leg day using pre-exhaust? He says, 43, I've dealt with some knee issues, but still pushing to make leg progress. Been structuring leg day with seated leg curl, adductor leg extensions, then going into hacks, leg press, and finishing with lying leg curls, lunges, or straight leg deads. Also thoughts on doing Hatfield safety bar squats. I've been throwing these in some because I feel I can go deeper with added weight, but curious what you guys think of this is as effective as just doing regular safety bar squats. Big fan of the show. Says this is my one and only Patreon subscription. So thank you very much, Josh. I appreciate you, man. So first of all, just pre-exhaustion in general. What do you guys think about it?
Well, I don't want to talk out of my ass here and have somebody like post a study, but I'm just going to say I seem to remember seeing something where doing pre-exhaustion in a superset wasn't a good idea, but in the context of the workout could be a good idea. And what I mean by that is the study that I was showed that if you did pec deck followed by bench press in a superset, your pecs were exhausted from the pec deck. So when you went to bench press, your body actually sends more neural drive to your triceps because they're fresh. Mm-hmm. And your pecs can't do as much work. So your triceps actually wind up being more activated. That was a study that I saw. So people that superset with the isolation exercise first, technically this study showed that would send more drive to the assister muscles, which would actually not be cool. Whereas if they supersetted it the other way, where they did the bench press to failure or whatever, and then did the pec deck, that actually took the pecs farther into activation. Mm-hmm. So again, I don't know exactly where this was, but that's what I saw. But then in the context of a workout, doing your extensions first and then moving to a squat, that was different because they weren't like immediate. You know what I mean? You're just setting up more fatigue and causing more. It wasn't the same. It didn't work the same way. So and it just bottom line for me, I mean, I'm fit right into that guy's question. Like, I'm 48, I'm kind of banged up, that's how I train. Like, he just listed my workout. So I got nothing against that. If he's got to train that way to get everything warmed up and moving good, and he feels like his hacks and leg presses are way more comfortable, there you go.
I think the only thing I would suggest differently is this. A lot of people, if you want to warm up your squat, then warm up your squat. Take your time. I think that's where things get lost. When we were kids, I mean, I used to start with 225 on squats because it was just 135 was a waist and it barely pushed me down anyways because I was so tight. So I'd start at 225, 315, 405. Like that was, there was no like paying attention to like, how did I feel today? As soon as you finish with 315, you put another plate on. As soon as you finish 405, you put another plate on. Now I wish in hindsight, not that I don't knock on wood, I don't have any knee problems or anything, but I go in, I mean, when we do a hack squat, like yesterday, I decided to start with hacks. I did 1 plate for 10, 2 plates aside for 10 twice. Then slowly started working in. So I think one thing that gets missed with guys is don't be afraid to use the movement you're doing as your warm up, so don't be in a rush. Do many sets to move that, get that blood in there, get moving around. Because I found for me on the contrary that the most dangerous movement I can do for my knees and my quads is extensions because I'm absurdly strong on them. There's not a single stack I've ever used I can't use all of.
Right.
And the amount of pull on that big stretch is just dangerous. I would rather put 10 plates aside on a hack and spend 30 minutes getting up to it. I feel safer. So, but again, the only thing I want to finish answering on his question is don't question whether or not we think you should use the bar you want to use. You answered your own question. It feels good. It feels safe. I can sink into the hole. These are all the answers you need.
Sinking into the hole is crucial.
Yes, I don't get to do it very often. You want to make sure that you're paying attention to yourself. Like you shouldn't be asking permission on how to train the way that feels best, because I think that that's where a lot of things get missed. We've talked about this before. A really controlled row for me, the next day I feel nothing.
Yeah.
If I do what I call grip and rip, which is ugly as hell, I'm smoked head to toe. And I've had countless people half my size tell me I'm doing it wrong. I don't care. And I wouldn't care if they were bigger than me either, because this is the way that works. So if you're comfortable in those movements, rock them and do them the way you have been. And you're going to see the best results, because if I said, no, you got to use a barbell on your back.
Yeah.
If I followed that advice, I would still be barbell squatting. I'd have no hams, no quads, and a bigger ass than I already do, because that was the only thing that grew when I squatted.
I will say this about that Hatfield squat. So I'm going to put this picture up for anybody who isn't familiar with the movement. So it's where you're holding onto that bar in front of you with the safety squat bar over your shoulders. So I decided to mess around with these. I've got the Kabuki Strength Transformer bar. And after I'd gotten sick, and I was trying to get back into training, I wanted to try it out. So I thought it was something different and fun. And I used a band stretched across my rack. So I couldn't really hold on to the band. You know what I mean?
Right. But you had some pull.
Exactly. So I used that to balance myself. And I felt like, okay, this is good. This is all right. And I can't remember how much weight or reps I was getting, but I was like, I'm building my confidence. And after I did that for 3 weeks in a row, I was like, I'm just going to go to, because I had a hard time breathing. I was like, I'm going to go to regular, just, freestanding squat. And when I did, I was so gassed, my lungs couldn't handle it. So it's different, a little bit different today. But my point being that it definitely changed the movement to make it a lot easier on my overall central nervous system and cardiovascular. So it's a different exercise, but I'll tell you what, just with people saying oh, should you use bands or whatever else? I'm kind of what you guys were saying before, what do you want to do? And I like to keep things fun. So even though a Hatfield squat might not be the same thing as doing a free weight squat, it's hey, if you have fun with it and you could challenge yourself and you're in your 40s, keeps you in the gym and you're looking forward to your next workout, I say go for it.
Yeah. I think this would be a good way to close this question.
Yeah.
Trained by JP. JP put up a post
Yes.
and just the other day, and I wanted to just read it because it
Okay.
was awesome. And we talk about how some coaches kind of like, it's just a marketing thing, but kind of try to make all their clients super dependent on them for every little thing. And like, what type of vitamin C should I take? And like, what brand of rice should I eat? And like all that sort of micromanagement.
Yeah.
And this is JP's post. Let 2024 be the year you don't have to ask permission to try a split, try an exercise, a grip, a stance, where you put your feet. Let it be the year that you don't ask anyone how long their sessions take or what volume they do, because it's so entirely irrelevant to your own training. Let it be the year that you decide you're going to work out the answers to your questions instead of asking the opinion of complete strangers who have no idea what you can and can't do, how much sleep you do, don't get, how intense you do, don't train, all pointless procrastination. The sooner you start answering your own questions, the sooner you will start really making progress.
It's a good point.
And, to just completely, make our show irrelevant, no more questions.
That's it. It was good, guys. We'll see you.
Can't answer anything.
What was our last show? It's all over.
That's great. That's great. And I think that's good. Like there are good questions, but then there's a lot of questions that, you don't have to worry about that.
Yeah.
Yep.
But I like that, just stop asking, permission for everything.
There's a lot of just overthinking that doesn't allow you to move. So it's important to get into a machine or onto a stance and just where do my feet naturally want to go?
Yeah.
Where am I the most comfortable? Like for the most part, unless I was targeting something, people would say, oh, why do you put your feet there? That's where I'm the strongest.
Yeah. That's where I feel real sturdy and stable.
Where my knees feel good, or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I just had that conversation with a guy yesterday because he was told by someone to not let his toes point out on a leg press. He goes, my knees hurt. So I watched him do a couple reps and his knees were going out whether his toes did or not.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, yeah, we're kind of setting ourselves up for a trick to an ortho here soon.
Yeah.
I was like, just let your knees follow your toes. And as soon as you do that, he goes, yeah, there's no pain. I'm like, I don't know who told you that or why, but no, like, so use the common sense and just find what works for you. I actually had seen that post too. And I loved it because you do have to learn a lot, especially when you're following greatness. I'll say, like, if I were to ask all my friends how to get bigger biceps, I'd have been screwed because most of my friends have great biceps. So it's like, they were going to have them no matter what. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it took some like going backwards. If I asked Nikki how to have huge calves, she'd go, I just never train them.
Yeah.
That's the secret.
Yeah.
Wait, isn't it the answer? I thought that.
Shut your mouth.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I loved it.
All right. I had another good one here that I wanted to pull up here that I thought was great. Let me find it real quick. We have so many. Oh, that was the one that I was looking for. Would you rather know when you're going to die or how you're going to die?
I guess I would say that knowing how I was going to die would probably tell me when I was going to die.
Yeah. It would inform you at least, wouldn't it?
It would inform me, give me a pretty good idea. So
I feel like it would also tell me who I was with.
Yeah. Yeah. That sounds like Dusty might have been there for this one. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. That's, the when thing.
I would not want to know that.
You
It depends
get back
if it's like your airplane is gonna crash. I'd be like, okay, fine. I'm just not flying anymore. But if it's like, you're going to choke on a piece of steak or a piece of meat.
Oh, that's a little low blow.
It's like, I'm just not eating meat anymore,
Yeah.
You can't do that.
Try and cheat it.
You can't do that.
Or if they're like, you have a heart attack getting a hand job from a nurse in a nursing home. I'm like, oh,
okay.
Good to go.
I'd be like, I'm not doing that anymore.
I'm all right. Yeah. I got lots of time.
Anymore?
I can eat whatever I want, smoke whatever I want. Yeah.
And it's a heck of a way to go out. You know what I mean?
Heck of a way to go out. I'm happy with that.
I knew this was how it's going to go.
Yeah. Yes. You know?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
can you imagine if that's how did dad die? Oh, hand job from a nurse in a nursing home. You'd be like,
But I guess
That's
if
when
you
they
know
just go
when,
heart attack.
if you know when, it just doesn't matter then. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
you could
yeah.
plan everything out. Like, you know, the sad thing
Yeah.
is like the people you see who like work their butt off their entire life and they never really got to have any fun and they had all this money in savings. Like you would
they're
know.
just
Be
about
like,
to retire.
yeah, exactly.
Right
Be
at
like,
the end. Right
Right.
at the end, I'm like, we got 6 months and I got 9 months worth of money. Let's
right.
rock.
There you go.
Yeah. I got 9 months worth of money.
I'm going in.
Yeah. I know.
All right.
I would. Yeah. That's a great question.
All right, so this is a good one, and this is John from my gym, my training partner on Sundays. The Mount Rushmore of condiments. Now, I want to let this go into off season and like I don't want diet because that's boring. So,
Okay. I have it. Here's mine.
look, he's
Sugar-free
quick.
ketchup.
Yes,
Sugar-free ketchup. Teriyaki sauce.
mine's soy. Yep.
Hot sauce.
What kind of hot sauce? Like just
Frank's hot sauce.
Okay.
And I'm gonna say barbecue sauce, but it's like a Southwestern, like a
Okay.
Tex-Mex barbecue sauce.
Okay.
Okay.
That's my.
And we're talking like full sugar. None of the like.
Yeah.
artificial-
The barbecue sauce, I'm a little flexible. I mean, what do you have in your fridge? I'll try it. You know,
Okay,
I'm not going to be like specific on that, but I sort of like, you know, maybe a little bit of a Tex-Mex barbecue sauce or Southwestern. Yeah. I kind of look for that on the label, you know, a
Yeah.
Nice.
little smoky, maybe. Yeah.
So
You're in.
I've never been a fan of ranch stuff in my life, like ever, right? And then
Idiots.
I picked up this. It's some sort of like it's like a ranch, like in a bottle that you squeeze, but it's like a condiment, and it's so hot. It's like spicy hot with a spice that I've never seen or I've never tasted it before, and I like to put that on my eggs. It's like 15 grams of fat per tablespoon. So you don't like smother it, but like once I keep it in the fridge and I go through a bottle about
How
every
do I
year.
mute Scott? How do I mute
Hey,
Scott?
I never would have thought. I
I
never
gotta
would
tell
have
you though,
thought.
you had me until you said I put it on my eggs.
Yeah, I wouldn't have thought, dude.
My
Like I would have
ranch-
never. I would have
Like, if you're
never
like, so
thought.
when I take the chicken wing that is
Yeah.
not quite spicy enough, but I dip it in the spicy ranch, I'm like, yes.
Yeah,
You're
so
like,
I could
put
see
on
that
my
too.
eggs.
I don't know why. But that, and they have the
Ron's checking out. He's checking out.
and the other thing I discovered is that Chick-fil-A sauce when we had
Oh,
Chick-fil-A at the
yes.
Arnold, and I'll put that
you.
on my eggs as well.
Anything.
Boom,
Chick-fil-A
that's it.
sauce can be on anything. That's
I never would have thought that.
That's
I
only-
always put my
I need
nose up
two
at
more
ranch.
presidents, bro. Two more presidents. It's a
Oh,
Mount Rushmore.
Taco Bell hot sauce. You can get that
Okay.
in the grocery store now. And the other one would just be, I guess, sugar-free ketchup or like the no sugar added ketchup. That's my day-to-day.
Yes. So I back the sugar-free ketchup, of course. And by the way, I should say low sugar, not sugar-free.
Yeah.
Why do they even make the regular ketchup? Because it's the same. There are certain things
yeah.
where I hate when people go, "Oh, it's a diet cookie. It's good." I'm like, "No, it is not." You're saying it's good compared to a shitty cookie that's a diet cookie. It's a better shitty cookie.
Yeah.
Like, no. But in that case, it literally is more or less the same. So I don't know why anyone doesn't do that. So sugar-free ketchup, off-season or not. Soy sauce, because I drown everything in soy sauce. I want to kind of like mold my presidents a little bit here because I use taco sauce a lot, but I also love salsa. Can I call those one thing? Because
They're kind of interchangeable. They're kind of
if
interchangeable.
not, I'm going to call
give
salsa
you-
a salad that I'm doing. On
I'll
the side.
give you a slash. I'll give you a slash.
Okay, I need a slash.
Taco
Because there's
taco
certain
sauce slash salsa.
Yeah, because I must dip chips. That is why I am fat, for sure. And then, earmuffs, Ron. Ranch.
God, white. Oh.
We had this. Actually, this comment came up out of the blue, which happens in houses these days. So suddenly, a teenager goes, "What is the greatest sauce on the planet?" I'm like, "Ranch." Boom, and then I defend myself like I'm about to go to prison. But I did win the argument. So moving forward. All right.
I got one for you guys.
Yes,
I don't know if you'll be able to answer this because, well, you'll see why everybody we know is kind of related to bodybuilding. But you had to have had one answered back in your memory somewhere. He says from YouTube, when you moved in with your lady, what kind of things did you have to explain to her bodybuilding meathead wise?
I was always I always had I always dated girls that were already converted pretty much.
Yeah, and that's
like they were already into fitness, like, you know, already working out, already eating healthy, you know, picking up, you know, the right foods, you know, that sort of thing. I never really had to like explain myself. I don't explain myself to any women. I've never been in the habit of that. I'm like, this is what you're getting. I do this and this. I don't eat this. I do not have ranch in my fridge. We're not putting it in the fridge. And
you need your own fridge.
Yeah, I'm a bit of a pervert. So yeah, if you're in, you're in. You know,
if they're moving in with you, they already figured that part out.
Yeah, they're way beyond. They're way beyond.
That's the reason. That's the reason they're moving in. They're okay with that.
Yeah. Don't explain yourself. Just live your life, bro.
100%, because, and I think that's usually how it works. But literally, I think the only surprise that Nikki would have experienced when I first moved in was that I ate out like all the time. I was just like, at that point in my life, I'm like, oh no, we don't eat at home. Like there are 5-6 meals in a day, and only 3 of them are at home. The other 3. We're out. So I was like, you're going to need to make another 50K this year to keep up with me. So let's
go. Your accountant's like, you spent 20 grand at restaurants last year on your credit card. It's like all business meetings.
Yeah.
So I do a lot of business meetings at restaurants, but yes, I mean, outside of that, like I'm with you guys, it's nothing in bodybuilding, particularly things that most people would think come up.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I just let her know that, you know, you're the first one that's not a nurse that's helping with this. Let's do it.
The first one that's not a nurse. You're the first one who's not professionally trained in this type of lifestyle, but I'll guide you through. Yeah.
I will tell you that Victoria moving in has definitely, it's brought the womanly touches to our home. She saw this meme the other day, and it was spot on. It was like your boyfriend's house before you moved in. And it was like a mattress with a cardboard box next to it and a Glock sitting on top of it. That was my house.
I saw the same meme. It was like a Glock and like a glass of what looked like Coca-Cola, right? On the nightstand. And it was on a cardboard box with an air mattress on the floor. And then it said, bros are fine to live like this forever. And I'm like, just bank my money, sleep with my Glock on the box, and just put everything in the bank. Yeah,
the box works fine. It's a lot cheaper too.
Fine. Yeah. If I don't like it, I just get into it.
Yeah. Eventually, you need a new appliance. You know.
I did the opposite though. When I was single, I just had a female friend of mine do my house for me. I was like, you have this much money, buy my furniture.
Oh, there you go. That's a route. That's a route.
So like if someone came in, but it was funny because I got called on it one time. Someone came over, they're like,
you didn't do this.
You didn't do this. I'm like, no.
It's completely staged.
Absolutely not. What do you mean a oblong leopard carpet is not something you thought I would put here?
Yeah.
You don't think I need to do that?
Very specific artwork up on the walls. Everything's very, very specific.
You're suggesting I didn't choose this?
Yeah. I totally get you. No, I just sort of do my own thing. Emily just sort of she sort of gave me this room because I'm like, this is, you know, going to be my podcast room. So I'm just going to put all my shit on the walls. She's like, okay.
Yeah.
Cool enough.
It's like your man cave now.
You know what I mean? I'm like, you can put whatever you want on the walls in the bedroom. Like, you can hang whatever you want. I don't care. I don't
That's
care what's on
pretty
the
much-
wall in the bedroom.
That's the deal we have. I used to have a
You know?
couple of pictures hanging up, and then they slowly but surely were moved and changed, and now it's
Yeah.
you know.
I don't mind. And then
That's good.
my
That's fine.
bathroom, like we both have like, you know, I let her have the ensuite. So the ensuite's hers. And then I use the other bathroom. It's got a shower in it. But I got all my stuff up on there. I got like concert posters on the wall mounted and like my Bruce Lee painting on the wall. And it's so my bathroom's like very me. Yeah. So got to have your spaces.
Yeah.
Yes.
People
Love
come over and they go in there and they're like, that's Ron's bathroom, eh?
Got it. He was given this one.
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, I wanted to mention something before we go. Are we in the
Yes.
last 5 minute crew? Is this last 5 minute
We
crew?
are.
Yes.
Okay. Not bodybuilding related. It's cultural. Cultural.
Oh, boy.
Future
The whole show.
thing.
The whole show is cultural.
This is heavy culture. So,
Okay.
have you guys noticed? I just saw them I just realized they were happening this week because I started reading the comments. Have you guys seen all the fake AI generated Joe Rogan clips?
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So, you know the YouTube shorts.
Yeah.
So a YouTube short popped up the other day, and it's Joe Rogan with a guest on, and he's talking about this pyramid that they found in the Arctic, and he's talking about blah blah blah, 1942, something like that. And I'm watching, I'm like, I've never heard of this, and I'm like, okay, I'm a skeptical, but let me just and he's talking, and they're like, it sounds very documented and everything like that. And then I look down at the bottom, I realize it's not Joe Rogan's YouTube, and it's not a JRE experience or JRE clips or anything. It's got like some other name, like Mind Melder or something.
Yeah. Okay. I've seen that kind of stuff.
And then I open the comments, and all the comments are like, wow, this should be illegal. This AI stuff. I hope Joe can find out who's doing this. This is ridiculous. These clips are unbelievably dangerous. This could get really out of hand. This is completely AI. This was never an episode.
Oh,
Right.
no kidding.
Yes, this was never an episode. He never talked about this. This is all like that sort of thing. Just filled the comment section. I was like, oh shit, we're just getting fake stuff. And eventually at the end of the clip, maybe they try to drive it to a website or something like that. Right.
Yeah.
Then I saw another one, and it was a YouTube video, and it was Elon Musk on Bill Maher. And it's Elon Musk on Bill Maher talking one-on-one, but it's AI. And Elon is talking about an investment opportunity that is so awesome.
Oh, wow.
He's like, yeah, if you just invest like say $200, within months it's 5,000, and then it's this and this. And he's talking about this investment. And I opened the comments, and everyone's like, this is really scary. There are way too many dumb people. This is brutal. This has got to be like, so I'm just like, so I want to go back and investigate some more. Cause like that one I actually just pulled up yesterday. So I just want to let people know, like, keep your eyes peeled and like, it's getting crazy. It's going to get crazy.
Yeah, I'm looking at a Newsweek article right now. Controversial comedian Joe Rogan has spoken out after a series of fake versions of his podcast were made with artificial intelligence. Wow, that they appeared on YouTube. They're not showing the clips, but they have a video there. That is insane.
Yeah.
Can we hire them to do clips for us? I don't care if
we don't have to be here.
not. Yeah. Just do
it's funny.
clips.
Make them funny.
Make them funny. Yeah.
Keep it all
Piss people
clean. But
off.
if Joe wants to be a guest on our episode without ever knowing about us, that's fine.
That would be great. Yeah.
We get lots of hits that we had. How did they get Joe Rogan on this terrible show?
Yeah.
We just have like 30 clips of Joe Rogan, but you never see the actual episode.
Yeah, little like 20-second like laughs where we're all laughing together.
Yeah.
And he's like, love being on the show. You guys are great. Yeah.
Well, I'm sure at some point he said the name Ron, so we can pull that right in.
Oh, yeah.
Right. Ron, you're the best. I told you,
Oh,
Joe
yeah.
says I'm the best.
This was more fun than having Elon on. Yeah, that sort of stuff. So yeah, just we got to be careful. This year is going to be crazy.
Yeah.
There's a lot. This year is going to be crazy. So what do we close the show with? Make sure you got some canned tuna and some ammo, and mind your business, and watch What You Believe on even though it's a video and it's right in front of your eyes,
Seeing
you
is
gotta be
not
careful.
believing.
We might not
Seeing
even
is
be here
not
in front of you
believing.
right now. This might not.
Yeah.
None of this is real.
No. Well, you guys have seen the thing about that Instagram model that's pulling in like 30 grand a month,
No.
and she's not even real.
Not
It's
really.
a guy.
Oh my God.
It's a dude. He's just a young kid. He's like in his 20s, and he just AI'd an Instagram model and started her a page, and just has like her. And of course, he can generate infinite content. He doesn't have to do photo shoots. So it's just generated. So he's like reel after reel after reel of her just like modeling clothes and at exotic locations, and just like she doesn't have to actually travel. She doesn't have to actually shoot.
Exist.
Yeah.
He doesn't have to exist. So he can just AI generate like amazing photo shoots on the beach in Hawaii and then companies are paying her, and the companies know that she's not real, but they don't care because the eyeballs are insane.
Yeah.
Yep.
I've seen so many different weird fake things. I found this channel of these like urban explorer kids, and I see what they're doing now, but they put things together in a way that's really tricky. You would have never thought of doing this. And they'll be like, we found this tunnel, so we went down into it. And then it kind of cuts, and then they're like, and it led to this place. And then they go, and then like, and it opened up into this abandoned prison. You know what I mean? And then they're like walking around, and it's like, but it's believable enough that it seems like it's actually happening. Funny thing is, with the second Victoria saw it, she's like, oh, I don't trust that. Like her brain was just like 3 levels above it already, but like we don't believe anything, it's like, oh, there's this beautiful beach or whatever, like a drone shot. And it's like, but does that place really exist?
Yeah.
Stay skeptical, boys and girls. Stay skeptical. Don't believe everything. Okay. Love it. Thanks again for all the questions, and remember to like, share, subscribe, comment, and
Ring the bell.
yes. And once again, your support is really appreciated. IamMutant.com. Get your all in, get your IsoSurgeon. Everyone should get on the gear. Dusty 20, Ron 20.
Wait,
of course,
Big Ron 20.
Big Ron 20.
Big Ron 20. Big Ron
Thank
20.
you.
Remember the Think Big Patreon. We've got Scott's Patreon. So hit that up.
Thank you,
Keep
guys.
the producer home. Support the Think Big Bodybuilding Network. And there's my,
He's dancing.
I remember back in the day when I was big, I used to bench a lot of weight too.
Oh, good stuff.
Okay. Good one, guys. Remember, it's just bodybuilding.